I have Zak Ottow on the show now, who will be facing Derek Smith next on January the 15th at A-Town Throwdown 17. Zak, how are you?
Doing great, man. Good to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too. And I'm excited to see this next fight for you. This would be 3 in a row since your release from the UFC. Before we dive into all of that, I do just want to discuss initially this camp, how it's been. I know you're there with Jake Clip and a bunch of killers there with you day to day. So how are you feeling leading into the big fight?
Great. Now that I made the move up to 185, not only does the whole weight cut, and I just feel better at that weight and everything. But we also have a lot of really good 185ers in the gym that are coming up. So I get a lot of really good training partners, and of course, I've always had great coaches at the gym. So yeah, everything's really coming together right now in my career, and I'm excited for this next matchup.
As far as the weight difference goes between 170 and 185, like tell me, like, what were the things holding you back maybe from performing at your best? Do you just feel like it was just too much for you to make that cut down to welterweight and it was affecting your ability to be 100%?
Yeah, a lot of it's really tough for me to make that weight, and a lot of times in the UFC, like you don't get like a full training camp. If there's a matchup that comes up, it makes sense. I've taken several fights where like on 3 weeks notice, and it was just like you're not even training to get ready for the fight. You're just training to lose the weight, to make the weight class. I felt like just a lot of myself would just dwindle away, and I didn't have like any explosive power left in me, and my neck was skinny and stuff, and then your brain's dehydrated and stuff the next day. I just felt like sometimes in fights, like shots would affect me that wouldn't affect me in the gym or wouldn't affect me in previous fights when I was fighting at higher weight classes. And the last two guys I fought, the last guy I fought was just a tank of a guy. We fought up at 195. He hits like a truck, and I took all his punches like nothing. You know what I mean? So I just feel way healthier, way more durable, way more explosive up at 185. So I really like this weight class. It is a weight class that I started at, and I just thought, oh, with my frame, I should probably go 170 as I got closer to like a UFC call up, but I don't think that was the best move for me. And we're gonna give this one a go and see what my full potential is before I'm done.
I used to train at Team Irish, and obviously I never anywhere close to the level where you're at, but I got a point I'm getting to. Marcus Davis was the head coach there. He's former UFC fighter. He fought welterweight and lightweight. He's a big guy. He reminds me like his body frame is similar to you. And he told me that he used to cut all the way down from like 225 to make it to welterweight or lightweight. Did you get that heavy? Because you are a pretty rugged guy. I got to imagine you must have been at least north of 210.
Yeah. When I was in college, I was playing football, like in shape, running around at like 212. I got up to, when I first started training MMA, I would say my first day in the gym, I was probably 222. And then, once you start doing some athletic, MMA training and stuff like that, and you're not just like lifting weights, which is basically what I was doing at that point before I started doing MMA training. That first like 10 pounds came off pretty quick. I walk around at like 208 right now in like MMA shape. I'm rolling all the time, doing kickboxing class, doing more speed of sport workouts. We'll go through like a power phase, some power lifts when I'm outside of camp, but a lot more like speed strength and reactionary training and stuff like that, cardio, and I still walk around at like 207, 208. So yeah, for me to make 170, especially like when I fought in New Zealand, I got that fight on like 3 weeks and 2 days notice, and I was like training, so I was like, yeah, I like the matchup. I feel like I'm in shape. Let's do it. Okay, let me send the contract over. And then I'm like, wait a minute, let me check my weight. And I stepped on the scale and I was like 207 or 208 at that time. And now I got to make 171 in 3 weeks. It was like, whew, with the travel to New Zealand, like it's brutal. And not to mention like the skills at the weight classes I feel are different at 185 than 170. Like 155 and 170, there it's just like a murderer's row of people that are, you know, super skilled in grappling, boxing, kicking, clinch work, everything. And it's just a fact. Like the bigger you go, the less you kind of need to maybe rely on your skills in the gym, and you can kind of use your size and bully people around. It's pretty rare to find like a guy that's well north of 200 pounds that's got like a really good guard or something. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't really happen. And I've just kind of noticed like the skills. Like I would rather fight number 15 in the world at 185 than number 30 in the world at 170. Like
Big difference is what you're saying. That 15-pound jump from welterweight to middleweight is significant.
yeah, for sure.
So I got to imagine that the goal is for you to get back to the UFC, right? So, you get this win, that makes it 3 in a row. If you do get that call back up, is middleweight going to be where you stay? Is there any chance if they say, hey, we want you to fight at welterweight? Is that even an option at this point? Or are you just going to be middleweight or that's it?
Middleweight, or that's it. I got a lot of other stuff going on in my life. I I'm doing this for myself and for the competitive reasons, not like for the money or glory or recognition or anything. I felt like my last couple fights on the national or worldwide stage, so to say, just weren't like my best, and I can't go out like that. And at 170, I just, with trading wins and losses, a lot of decisions and stuff, I just felt like I wasn't performing at my best. If the only option was to go 170, I'd just retire. I'd be done. It's 185. I want to try to see what my full potential would be if I would have stayed in this weight class, and I think it's going to go way better than it did at 170. So when my second contract ended with the UFC, I also had blown out my left knee, so I had to have knee surgery and come back from that, and that was taking a while. And then my manager was like, all right, well, like once you're ready, like stay ready, let's get in with another 170 contract. And that was after that long kind of my first time to be able to like totally reset after and not have to worry about a fight possibly coming up. I was just focused on rehabbing the knee. I was like, I can't, I don't want things to keep going the way they've been going. And I also wouldn't want to retire and always think, what if? So before I get locked into another contract at 170, I want to give 185 a full 100% effort, So we made the decision that knowing that I have to go back to the regional level to win some fights, in order to get signed back at 185, because it's going up a weight class, not going down.
Right. How difficult was that?
If I was like, oh, I want to try lightweight or something, I probably would have just got another contract. Or if I was willing to stay at 170, I could have got another contract on short notice. That's kind of how my first contract went into my second one. It would have been the same way going into my third. So I took some risk. I'm like basically gambling on myself, and trying to kind of take one step back to go many steps forward.
So you're saying that you, after that loss to Alex Morono, that was back in 2019, there was a chance that you could have re-signed at welterweight with the UFC. Instead, you're banking on yourself. You're going back to the regional scene. You want to rack up some wins here at middleweight and then re-sign. That's your plan. I didn't realize that. That's actually,
Yep.
that's really cool. I don't think you see many people that make it to the highest levels like the UFC actually do that. Like, do you know of anyone else that has specifically done this course of action that you're doing?
I don't know off the top of my head. No, I'm not like no, I don't know. No.
Okay. Well, and you know, you've won two in a row. Like I said, November of 2020, you got a round two armbar win over Clarence Jordan. Prior to that, or after that, July 2021, you got the UD win over Jerome Hatch. Are you pleased with that win? I know a finish is always what you're looking for, right? So the UD win, how pleased are you with that performance?
Yeah, no, I think that, if I could have went out there and really finished him in an emphatic way, I think I would have got re-signed. But, just getting the decision win and stuff, it's kind of like, I mean, a lot of times when people, you'll see people in between stints in the UFC, like 3 wins in a row is kind of, that standard kind of thing that you need, unless you're like going out there and really put on good performances. I feel like I definitely dominated Clarence Jordan and almost finished him in the first, and then I finished him in the second. That was a good win. Yeah, the last one, um, in the second round, I felt really confident. I was in a really good position early in the round, and I thought, this is it. Like, I'm gonna take my time and wear him out a little bit, and I'm gonna get my opening for the finish and take it. And it just really never presented itself. Um, and then third, he was just tough, dude. He was playing a lot of defense. Like if somebody's not really scrambling to try to get out of bad positions, that's where I could catch him with some open shots or maybe catch him in a submission. But he was just kind of like hanging out, like, and playing defense a lot. So it was hard for me to open up a little bit when somebody's just trying to hold on to you a lot.
Sure.
So
One of those
um,
frustrating fights.
it was a frustrating fight, but um, it was a win. I won all 3 rounds, but yeah, I was definitely going after a better, you know, stat type finish there. But
Gotcha.
hopefully we get it on this one.
Yes, sir. Now all this, this training that you do. I mean, this is your life. You also run your own promotion, your regional promotion. Tell me a little bit about that. How's that going right now?
Good. Just, happy to be doing shows again. COVID really shut us down for a while, but now we're back and we've been doing some shows in Milwaukee lately. We got another one coming up again at RWB, a bar downtown in Milwaukee. Keeping the venues kind of small just to keep costs down and stuff as we get back on our feet. Um, it's February 5th, so that's coming up pretty soon. So we've been working on that, planning that. And then March 11th will be up in Stevens Point. So we
Very
usually like
cool.
to go up there once a year every spring. Stevens Point, Wisconsin. It's like central Wisconsin. So we travel around a little bit with the promotion, but we're finally getting that going and getting our guys the fights that they need, whether it's a tough test or whatever. So yeah, it's been going well.
Good. Give me a couple of names that up and comers that people should have their eyes on and be paying attention to. I'm sure you have a few in your promotion.
Yeah, Nick Klein, he fights out of our gym. Like I mentioned, one of the 185ers that I train with all the time and on a daily basis. One of my fighters, Nick Klein, is a total beast. He is a complete handful for me. So he's had a couple little injuries and stuff like that, and then the COVID thing. It was just always bad timing. It was like right when he was about to have a fight, COVID shut down, and then we finally came back, and then people were running shows again, and he got scheduled for a fight, and then he got this little knee injury thing or whatever, like just enough to have to pull out and rehab that. So he's only 1-0 right now as a pro, but he was like 8-1 as an amateur, and we were really trying to test this guy as an amateur. I mean, bringing him out to the toughest guys and fighting him up a weight class, and he fought all the best amateurs around the Midwest up at 205, and he's really an 85er. And yeah, he's gonna be in the UFC for sure. So Nick Klein, um, he's a
Okay.
beast. We got a whole bunch. I mean, Dylan Diebitz is another one that's in my weight class, and Wes Schultz, all super high level college wrestlers that are, evolving and becoming great MMA fighters. Um, so those are all guys that, are fighting a lot on our Pure FC event.
Very cool. When next time I make it down that way, I'll have to swing by and check out one of your events for sure. They sound like they're going very, very well for quite some time now too. Now I did want to circle back to, you were talking about camp and mentioning training partners. Tell me a little bit more about specifically who you've been working with during this camp to prepare for your opponent, Derek Smith.
Yeah, Derek Smith, he's a pretty scrambly grappler. He's got a win over Brian Barberina, who is a longtime UFC vet, and I train with a whole lot during different parts of my career, going down to the lab and stuff. And I know Brian was just a young buck at the time, and it was only his second pro fight, and he's way different fighter now. But I was just kind of like, hey, there's not a lot of tape on this guy. Like, what's he like? And it all kind of lined up with what I have seen or have heard about this guy. Is just basically that he's a super scrambly grappler that is tough. You know what I mean? He can take punches. He doesn't go away easy. And he's more of that scrambly loose grappler, which we have a couple of those in the gym. So Wes Schultz he wrestled D1. He's like a D2 national champ or something like that. I forget all of his college credentials, but very, very good college wrestler, who's now a pro fighter, and he had a great amateur record. I think like 7-1 or 8-1. Very scrambly type style, and so that's what I've been working with quite a bit. And then also Jonas Flock. Jonas fought for the PFL. He's a 55er, but cuts quite a bit of weight to get down to that weight. So even though he's smaller than me, he still gives me a really good look, and actually has a very similar build to the guy that I'm fighting. So some scrambly grapplers that just are willing to maybe sacrifice position to go for things, or maybe you think you got them in a good position, and the next thing you know, they're like spinning out behind you and taking your back, and you know what I mean, stuff like that. So I have some guys in the gym to really simulate that type of grappling.
Okay. And we're about 2 weeks out now from the fight night. And obviously, yeah, as everyone knows, we went right through the holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Has that been challenging for you to like stay away from certain foods and be disciplined during this time of year?
I wouldn't say. I mean, when I get focused on a fight, I'm very focused, very disciplined. There's those guys that cheat on their diet all the time, and they just can't be disciplined. I'm not one of those guys. Like, I can easily, boom, as soon as I get a fight, I don't look at food anymore as pleasure. I just look at it as fuel, and my mindset changes. But it is hard seeing the shit. You know what I mean? I mean, like if you don't have to see it, I don't have it in my house. I can just be focused, have my meals all prepped. But when I have to go to a family get together and it's everywhere right in front of my face, it's a lot more difficult than to say no. And yeah, so I have my birthday on December 22nd, and then we got Christmas, and I've got another Christmas party to go to this Sunday. My mom's side is getting together, and I'm sure there's going to be a whole smorgasbord of stuff laid out. So yeah, more stuff to have to deny, but 2 more weeks, and then we'll have some fun after that.
There you go. Well, that sounds fantastic. You can take, I guess, all your anger out on your opponent, Derek, for not being able to enjoy the good foods during the holidays.
Yeah, for sure. My last fight, I fought up at 190, 195, but there was a pound allowance, 196. And I just felt, that was another thing too. I just felt like, for my frame, just carrying around too much mass. I kind of had like a football build going into that fight. Like, I was a little, just by the third round, getting a little slower, a little too lethargic, not quite reactionary and everything. And stuff, but my kicks and everything like that just felt a little off. So even though it sucks to have to cut the weight, I feel like getting that leaner body frame is the best when it comes to fighting and being an actual fight, where you're really pushing yourself, and you need to call on athleticism and strength and speed and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to go in there too heavy. So
That makes all the sense in the world. Now, before we dive into this fight specifically and talk about the promotion a little bit, I wanted to get a couple fight picks from you. There are two fights in particular that I'm really, really intrigued about in early 2022, and that's the middleweight championship between Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker, that rematch, and then the heavyweight championship between Cyril Gane and Francis Ngannou. Who do you like in those two fights, and why?
I would go with I'm gonna go with Gon on it. They got the rivalry going and stuff because they used to be teammates. That's all kind of fun. And I mean, Ngannou's just got so much power. He showed some improved wrestling against Stipe. I mean, I know he's fully committed to MMA and he's been doing it now for a little while. He's probably super well rounded, but Gon for a heavyweight is just so elusive and he's got such good footwork. I just he's smart. He's a he's good everywhere. Good fight IQ. I don't think Ngannou finds that big power punch against him, and I think Gan just has a better chance of winning the rounds. So
Okay, so you're going with Gane. What about
yeah,
the 185 rematch?
I mean Adesanya, it's like it's one of those weight classes where those two seem to be just head and shoulders above 3 through 15. And unfortunate for Robert Whittaker because he just keeps winning against everybody except Adesanya. But yeah, I don't think he can. Styles make fights too, and I don't think he can deal with Adesanya's striking. And he's predominantly a striker. He likes to keep it on the feet, uses jab and stuff like that. But I don't see him having the style and the ability to actually beat Adesanya.
I can't say you're wrong because Adesanya is just so good. I do have to admit I'm a huge Bobby Knuckles fan, so I'm hoping that he can even it up at one apiece, and then we get the
That would be
trilogy.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
I hope. But I think in Adesanya, you would just need some like hmm, really boring type style. You'd have to really make it tough on him, or just like make you think that you're gonna strike with him and then take him, just like what
Gaston.
um yeah or Jan Bohovic did.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, I was
You
thinking
know?
that fight he had with Gastelum back in the day, that was
Yeah,
very close.
yeah.
But yeah, I Blachowicz, I mean, geez, talk about weight classes. That guy's huge. You could just see the size differential was enormous in that fight.
Oh yeah, yeah. I wish the weight classes were just a little different than they were as far as number wise and the way that the increments start going up. As soon as you get to 170, now you're already going up 15 pounds and then 20 pounds. It's like, I don't know if there was a better way to kind of break that up a little bit, but
Well, I agree with you. I mean, look, it goes from 125 to 35 to 45 to 55, and then right from there, it's jumping significantly. So
oh, yeah,
something
yeah.
needs to be done at some point soon. I'm sure it will. Let's talk about this matchup with Derek Smith. A-Town Throwdown 17. It's going down in Austin, Minnesota on January the 15th. Who will be in your corner come fight night? I got to imagine Jake Clip will be there. Who else will you have there in your corner?
Yep, J Clip and Solo Acosta will be in my corner.
Okay. And as far as the promotion goes and where people can watch it, is it going to be on a pay-per-view? Is it anyone can watch it online, or do you have to be
Yeah,
there in attendance?
yeah. You can watch it on pay-per-view. I cannot remember right off the top of my head, although I just made a post about it on my Instagram and Facebook, and there is an area right there that says how to watch the pay-per-view. I know that the tickets are up on Nitro tickets.
Okay. And your opponent, his record's 10-7, Zach. So this is one of those fights that it's kind of like, I don't know, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's almost a little dangerous because you're expected to win, right? You're going in against a guy who's not some schlub, like he's got a decent record. And I mean, anytime you're above 500 at the pro ranks, you're doing something right, I guess.
Yeah, with that many fights to be, well over 500 fighting the guys that he's fought. Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. It's a risk, man. I've been doing it, since I made the decision. So I mean the last two guys have been tough. This guy's tough and we're just gonna keep it going. It hasn't been easy finding. I mean, literally all of last year, every month, I'm a promoter, I'm a coach. I know everybody in the Midwest. I'm trying very hard to get a fight, and I have a lot of promoters out there looking, and it's very hard to find the matchups. You know, with Contender Series, like when I was coming up, I had to fight the vets in order to like get there. Now with Contender Series, you know, you get up to like, I don't know, a handful of wins against like other, you know, lower level pros, and you're getting like a Contender Series shot. Like, why fight an 8-time UFC vet? You know what I mean? So, I props to the last three guys that have signed the contract, and you know, they're true fighters. They're all old school guys. You
Mhm.
know, one of these I've tried. There's tons of 6-2 guys out there and stuff coming up that I'm trying to fight, but they don't fight. They don't want to fight me. They want to fight, you know, some other guy that's like them, and then, you know, maybe get that Contender Series shot. So, you know, the last two and then this guy, they're all from my generation. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So
How do you expect this fight to play out? Like, what's your prediction? Do you expect to get a finish, or do you feel like this could be a grind where it could go the duration?
I mean, I'm supposed to tell you, right? I'm supposed to pump up the fight and tell you, yeah, I'm gonna finish this guy and stuff, but I am, you know, I'm past those days. I don't know. Realistically, I could see it. I finish almost everybody on the regional level. I'd expect to finish this guy. I really want the finish. I need the finish. You know, a finish would definitely get me back in the UFC. So I'm gonna be. I'm always looking for it. You know, you make one mistake, I'll capitalize. Submissions, strikes, anywhere. I have the ability to finish, but he is that type of guy where I could see it being a little bit of a grind fest and have to, you know, fight down in the mouth guard a little bit. So we'll see. We'll see.
All
I
right.
don't make predictions. I don't really come in with game plans too much anymore. I like to let the fight play out, and I love just solving that puzzle on the fly. There's so many times where, you know, you watch tape and you're like, oh, this is probably going to happen, and he's probably going to do this and do that. So many fights I've either fought in or coached where you think they're going to do one thing and then it comes out and it's a completely different fight. And if all you did was specific training for those couple things and you over focused on that, you're like looking for it too much. And you know what I mean? I don't get like too focused in. I just kind of take the fight in as a whole at the beginning. I'm not a very fast starter, you know, so the first 2 minutes is always just collecting my reads, seeing what I'm working with, and then I make my game plan on the fly, and then I go to work. So
Well, I'm going to be stalking your Facebook page to get that link because I want to be watching from home. Again, it's January the 15th. Zak Ottow is back in action against Derek Smith at A-Town Throwdown 17. Zak, it's been far too long since we've done one of these interviews, my friend. So thank you for the time. Before I do let you go today, I want to give you the floor. Tell people where to follow you on social media. If there's anything you want to plug, any sponsors you have, the floor is yours.
thanks, Ryan. Super appreciate you reaching out and talking to you again. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, just my name, Zak Ottow. It's spelled a little weird, so I'll spell it out. Zak, Z-A-K, and then Ottow has a W at the end. Sponsors, Rev Gear. Um, they are huge with just everything that they do for our gym and for me. Really appreciate them. Rev Gear is where I get all my boxing gloves, shin guards, all that kind of, all the gear, supply, apparel, all that kind of stuff. Um, and then our, you know, my gym, Pura Vida, BJJ, and MMA, amazing training partners. We got a whole bunch of people coming up through the pipeline. I feel like we got the, you know, greatest coaching staff in the world. So just appreciate the gym and Rev Gear.